Welcome to the Free to Be Show. Do you remember when you were a young girl, joyful, playful, and carefree? Even into your young adulthood, you were very confident and showed up very present and powerful. Yet somehow, when your role changed, you gave up your power to the powers that be. Join me on an exploration of how the inward shows up in our collective consciousness. Are you taking the time to replenish yourself, body, mind, and soul? Are you enjoying the beauty of the full human experience? Are you free? Let's see. Good evening and welcome to the second episode of 2022 of the Free to Be Show. I'm super excited tonight to have Laura Staley. She is, I don't know what to call you. I'm going to call you my soul-aligned sister. You know, in fact, tonight, when I was trying to figure out what to wear, right? Because I usually wear red, I was like channeling Laura. And here I am. And we're showing up together in our white. So I want to say more about you, but I like when who you are and who you be in the world comes up naturally in the conversation, if that's all right.
Oh, that's perfectly fine. And it's glorious to be here with you this evening, Cordelia. Truly an honor, soul sister friend, comes to mind.
Yeah. I think that's totally appropriate. Well, sister friend. So, I'm curious, just spoiler alert, one of the things in your bio says that you're the founder of Cherish Your World. And I love that phrase. I'm just curious, where did that come from?
Oh, gosh. Oh, that's such a great question. I was in a transformational 6-month intensive workshop at the time. There were in-person, leadership and transformation, personal growth, emotional intelligence. And I knew how much I had fallen in love with the body of wisdom of Feng Shui. And I think it pretty much downloaded. I'm also a passionate music listener. I love all kinds of music, but I have to admit there's certain music that just makes me want to get up and dance. And the word cherish, so Cherish Your World flowed and just downloaded to me during that course. And journaling and then saying it, and I thought, wow, what a great name for my company, because it's an encouragement, right? Which I hope feels gentle to people, like cherish your world, as opposed to stop grinding your teeth. I don't know.
Right.
Not that would be a name of a company. Gosh, I don't know. Well, maybe,
you never know.
Practice. Yeah, right.
Yeah, there's like the grind, but that's talking about coffee. So.
And the other thing that there's a couple songs about out there, cherish is the word I use to describe, right? So there's that one. And then cherish the love we have.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Cherish, and I love both those songs, right? Okay. And I remember hearing them when I was young, which is really great. And then this was such a stellar moment. The gentleman who helped me put together my first website, and he has since passed away from cancer, which, utterly broke my heart. He came to me because I said, oh gosh, I love this name, and I have no idea if it's taken out on the internet world. And he came back to me and he's like, no, it's free and clear. It is yours. Wow. And oh gosh, Cordelia, talk about those moments when there is just alignment from your heart, your soul, the words that have, kind of, I call it downloaded. Sometimes they upload.
Yeah.
Oh, they upload from my gut, from my heart. But a lot of times they'll just, they'll like come in where, however it is that those phrases and ideas come to us. It was brilliant, and I'm honored to this day to know that my company is called Cherish Your World. Then partly because it's about cherishing your inner world, right? And then cherishing your physical space, and then your world of connections. Like our relationship I include that in cherishing your world, like, oh gosh, cherish our world. You can use all the different cherish your inner world, cherish your outer world. Gentle guidance, gentle encouragement to any human being right now. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. And,
Cherish
like,
the world of your heart,
definitely
right?
it feels like it definitely comes from a heart space.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
I I hear Sade's song, Cherish the Day, and
Oh,
because, my thing is, I talk about sweet talk, and
yes.
so I take love songs and I sing them to myself. So I cherish the day that I found myself to love myself,
Oh,
and,
oh.
I was just curious about your story around that because, this month I'm focusing on self-love and I entitled our conversation today coming home to
Mm,
self-love.
mm,
And so I know like last year we collaborated a couple of times with some other beautiful women
mm,
for unlearning codependency, and when I was interviewed earlier this week, and when you come out of difficult relationships. I know some of the women on the panel, they had narcissistic parents, and some were coming out of narcissistic marriages or work environments,
yeah.
just toxic environments. And you have so many nails, right, in the form of words coming at you, and
Oh,
it's so hard to cherish your
mm,
world, your
mm,
inner world or your outer world,
mm,
and so I'm just wondering, one of the questions that comes to mind when I think about that is, what did you do to speak life into your world? What were the other parts of cherishing your world?
mm. Wow. Well, I learned very quickly, when I learned about the practices and the permission to live with physical belongings that I love, that I could let go of all the hand-me-downs that I was grateful to have, but weren't aligned with my heart, and then take the time to really envision in my mind and in my imagination the belongings that would actually support and inspire my life going forward. And of course there are many iterations because the universe, we were hit with a flood and lost a lot of belongings, but at that juncture I just thought those things were stuff, those items were stuff. And yet with the deeper awareness and awakening to these practices and principles of feng shui, I realized, wow, no, I could actually have belongings that I cherish and hopefully could cherish for a lifetime. What would it be like to make an investment in even an article of clothing that is so classic and timeless and looks nice on me that I would possibly have it for 20 years?
And for
Or
those who
so
are
for
not familiar with I'm sorry, for
yeah,
those who
yeah.
are not familiar with feng shui, just really briefly tell us what that is.
Yeah, okay, it's very simply, it's, arranging your physical environment to align with your deepest values and your visions for your life, so that your home or the office in which you work is aligned with your heart, with your values, what actually enlivens and brings life energy to you. And for some people, it could look like minimalism. And for those who don't know what minimalism is, it's living extremely simply with the very basic foundational belongings in their physical space that 100% support them. You know, a comfortable bed that supports their body to sleep at night, the lighting in a room that supports them being able to read in the evening, the technology, but to so streamline those physical objects so that there is minimal clutter. So that definitely was one path. The other was to take excellent care of my physical body, and I've always loved to be active, and I hadn't always given myself permission to do so. So taking a yoga class really helped me drop into my body in a very meaningful way. Reconnecting with my passion for dancing helped immensely, and that became another expression of ways that I spoke life into this idea of cherish your world. And then, of course, anyone who would listen to me, and sometimes I would simply just say, you know, decluttering, right? And I think a lot of people know, oh yeah, I know I got clutter somewhere, you know, and you know, meet people where they are, right? So I would meet people in the place of clutter, and however it was being expressed in their space and in mine. And I think a huge part of the speaking life into that was this deep recognition that I now had a body of ideas that could serve other people. So being of love and service was a huge part of me speaking life into cherishing your world, and it always begins with me, right? So I'm clearing, I'm you know, and here I have little kids at the time, and you know, my son's moving the table around, and I'm like, what are you doing? And he's like, I'm feng shuiing the dining room, Mom. And I'm like, oh, okay, because he's seen me, you know, doing all of these activities. And
how old was he?
oh my gosh, he must have been 4 or 5.
Okay.
And then we would do this donate keep ritual too, because they quickly, you know, so I never interfered with their own process. I really gave my kids, even at really young ages, permission to choose what they held on to and what they let go of. And and it was such a practice, Cordelia, because you know, I had moments, right, where I would be thinking as this adult, oh man, you never play with that toy, right? And you know, my son happened to have a drawer open at the time, and he's, you know, he's going through his objects, and the one thing that I thought for sure he would pull out of there, because he never played with it, he didn't. But he pulled out some other things, and I was like, oh, okay. And do you know that not like a week later, all on his own, he comes toddling down the hall with that very toy that I had, you know, kind of like been like, you know, and I don't know, I don't think he picked up on my vibe, because honestly, I just kept my mouth quiet.
Right.
That's really important as a parent, you know, and I gave him the full permission and freedom, as I did my daughter. And I think it allowed both my kids this freedom to, you know, have a more empowered relationship with their belongings, and realize, wow, this Valentine from, you know, last year, I don't even remember who this person was.
Right.
Right? And it would be in their treasure box, and they would just, you know, my daughter would be like, I hardly even remember who this person was. And I was like, okay, it's okay. You know,
I like that, because it's
know,
like
permission.
they know they give themselves a permission to let go of the energy of other people that like that don't you know, feed their heart anymore. And speaking of which, I want to just welcome some people in who are watching. fear strategist. I'm not sure who you are, but yes, to meeting people where they are. She agrees with you when you said that. And the lovely and beautiful world-class speaker, Portia Franklin, love that being of love and service. And, I want to talk about being of love and service. Hey there, Portia. Because a lot, for me, it was very confusing, right? You come into this new world of, well, for me, as my coaching business has evolved, I've started spending time with different people like you and Portia and, Rich Litvin and Steve Hardison. And, and in that world, they talk a lot about love and service. And that is a leap for people who have been in, narcissistic places, right? Where love and service has a whole different connotation, right? That codependency thing is real. It's just like, what? I just got myself out of that. What are you asking me to do right now? So, that coming back to, oh, right. As a human being, we, have compassion for other people and we have love in our heart. And that makes us want to be of service to others. Like, yeah, she says it's common, right? So tell me a little bit more about what that coming home to what love and service really is for you.
Oh, what a great question. By the way, everything you've asked me so far, I don't think I've ever been asked before. So
Oh.
gosh, thank you. Um, and all the other questions have been fabulous also from other people. This is just, it's a whole new day. Boy, coming home to love and service, what that really means for me. Okay, I might start with what it doesn't mean. It doesn't mean I'm pushing an agenda. I don't.
I think that's good. So let me just say this. For those who are listening and watching, take notes on what it's not. Okay? So
or at least for me. At least for me. So for anyone who has been baited and switched, right? Somebody's come at you and they seem so charming or they use fear and flattery to get you in their funnel and pitch you and to have you trip into their funnel. And I didn't even know any of these words until I got the onslaught at some, I don't know, talk that I went to. And I thought, oh gosh, that is so not me. It's different. It's even different than help because I actually relate to my clients as incredibly powerful people. They have all the tools inside them. They have the awareness. They have the ability to grow and learn, just like I'm always growing and learning. So it's about support as opposed to help. In fact, I love Anne Lamott's quote that I just recently came across. I'm not familiar with all of her writings, but I saw this quote in Brene Brown, Dr. Brene Brown's recent book, Atlas of the Heart, where Anne Lamott said, help is the sunny side of control. And I was like, whoa, that was a mic drop moment for me.
Oh.
So for me,
yes.
Coming home to love and service is about support and guidance and offerings, which people can grab a hold of and turn into their own. Because I think once people integrate an idea, and this is what I've done for those who have supported me or offered an idea, or I've read a book that just, right? And I'm having all these dots connect in my mind and in my heart and in my lived experiences. And it's so great because if somebody integrates an idea in their own life and their own expression, they've got it forever, right? And so being of love and service to me is loving a person enough to know that they are able and capable. I used to say that often to my children, you are able and capable. You have it inside of you. Now, of course, when they were an infant, I wasn't saying, gee, you're able and capable of, writing.
No, like when they're an infant, you just smile and kiss them a lot and they know.
Right. And gentle encouragement sometimes to, have somebody stretch into ways that they haven't before, but leave it as an idea and let it percolate. So for instance, I did a decluttering workshop and there was a woman who showed up and she said, I'm not ready to take action. I honored that, Cordelia, because I knew all the ideas and the other people, other ladies on the in the class. Many of them were ready to take action. They had already been taking action. She wasn't there yet. She needed it to percolate. And again, it's kind of that going back to love and service is about meeting people where they are and listening and asking really good questions. So I've walked into a client's bedroom before, right? And I have all the ideas of what's kind of like optimal for, their nervous system and a good night's sleep and etc. But rather than, pummeling them with all of that information or ideas or educating them, I'll ask, how do you sleep at night? And if the person looks at me and says, I sleep great, I sleep like a baby, I'm like, okay, well, tell me what else is happening in your bedroom. Is there anything else that, you struggle with? What would you like to be different? That's a great question to ask somebody.
Yeah.
What
And
would you like
sleep
to be
is
different?
so
And
integral. Yeah.
right. And then really, really listen to what the person says. Listen from your heart, listen from your whole being. So for me, love and service is about deep, deep listening and asking those meaningful questions, and kind of reflecting back to the person to make sure that you really deeply heard them and you got the emotion in which they spoke it. You got their energy expressions, because there are times that I'll be like, well, tell me about this picture, and they'll be like, and I see their body just all kind of like curl in on themselves, and I will take in that information and kind of reflect it back by saying, gosh, I don't know if you're aware of this, but your kind of whole body kind of curled in on yourself, and you sound so agitated about this photograph. And they're like, wow, yeah, like the non-fit was showing up everywhere in their tone of voice, the words that they were choosing, and their body language. So it's listening from that whole place. And obviously being able to do that for myself is foundational. So for those who want to be of love and service to others, yeah, I think it's just like essential and foundational to be love and service to yourself, right? When we nurture and nourish ourselves, then we come from all filled up. I don't need anything from you. This isn't not about tit for tat, right? It's truly about genuinely being for the other individual and there to inspire, educate, guide, ask those rich questions. And I love doing that. And then I love the moments when people are like, they just need to hear themselves. Right. And I'll be like, okay, that thing that you just said, that's you. That's that's what you want in your house. Or they'll go, oh, there's a drawer they'll open and they'll be, you mean like this? And I'll be like, yes, because they're so joyous, right? And I'm like, okay, that joy that you're feeling right now, more of that in every room of your house, right? And every relationship that you have, is it nourishing you at a very fundamental level? And if it's a difficult relationship that you have to be in, can you take good care of yourself first before you interact with that individual, or know that you're in a space to interact with them, and then be ready to bail if you need to bail?
Yeah, you really unpacked a lot there. I mean, I'm hearing first and foremost that you're talking about having a deep, soulful love for yourself, where you are like a full container. And from that place, you can be love and service. And then you become like a sounding soul for other souls, right? Uh, just drink from your overflow. That's what I really am feeling in everything you said. I also love where you were talking definitely about the deep listening and asking the right questions. And at the end there, you were talking about even if you're in a difficult relationship, you know, at some point you'll know when to bail. And I know like you and I have both been in difficult relationships, and I think it was this, we had like a similar kind of situation where you created this business, Cherish Your World, and you were like over years building yourself up from the inside until you were so full that you squeezed out the relationship that didn't serve you anymore.
Mm.
And that was the beginning of the coming home to love. I want to do two things. We're going to take a really brief break, and I see that EPEC is here. Hello.
Oh.
And Elise is here. Thank you for being here. And I'm just going to put on a little 30-second commercial, and we'll be right back. See, it was really quick. I also want to like bring in here that, as you can see, Laura's very gifted with words. And so one of the other things that she is an author. And of course, she's written a book called Live with Love, Transform Your Life with Feng Shui. And she also has, what is your most recent book is the Abundant Heart book, right?
Right. Yeah. And the other one just is Let Go Courageously and Live with Love, Transform Your Life with Feng Shui. And it's okay. but that let go, I like the fact that it is that let go courageously at the beginning, right? But yes. Yeah. And thank you for mentioning the books.
Yeah. Before we came on tonight, one of the things that we were discussing was the fact that she writes articles on LinkedIn too, like as if writing books is not enough. And whenever I see that she's written another article, I say, oh, 5-minute read. Oh, Laura Staley. Yeah. Okay. I'm going to wait until I'm sitting down and fully present. Because a 5-minute read from Laura Staley is a gift. It is an actual pouring into, just as if you're talking to her. And so if I ever like tag you on a post that she wrote, know that this is not, I'm just going to be scrolling while I'm in line at the grocery store. You have to sit down with your tea for this, so.
Thank you. That was an incoming, and I actually allowed it into my heart. So thank you. I'm humbled and honored by your very loving words and appreciation for the density and teacup. Cup of tea. Yeah.
You have to. You cannot.
It's true. Yeah, I know we were laughing earlier that it's so rare. In fact, I have a friend that I text on a weekly basis, right? And then he'll eventually get back to me when he can. And I have often, and they're just like riffs, right? I just actually I text this way with my index finger, and I said, well, you know that something has absolutely happened if someday I just do one word.
That's true. We were talking about that. I was like, wait,
yeah, I know. I will know that. Oh. But then just for fun, I think I did one day just, send out love. I think that was the word I chose. And then just kind of had to do a tee afterwards.
But it even like, if you are going to pick one word, like love is pretty dense.
Yeah. Oh, right.
It's let's just pick a word that doesn't mean anything.
Right.
That doesn't happen. So, feel free. I love the comments, and but this conversation is about coming home to self-love. So if you have any questions, if you're struggling with this right now, I love the takeaways, listening with all senses and heart. I love all you both said about listening and being in service. And Epec is another one. She's like, she is love and service.
Yeah. Just radiating.
Yeah, like that's her entire essence. So, and she's a huge fan of Feng Shui as well. So, surprise, surprise. Yeah, I'm really curious though. When it came to moving on to the next steps of your life after squeezing out the relationships that didn't serve you, like, how did you declare who Laura Staley will be?
Mm, mm. Wow. Oh, such a good question. So one of the things that I had learned from these different workshops, transformational workshop, leadership workshops, is sometimes you just like declare, you make a declaration. And when my 22-year marriage came to a close, and I got it, I percolated for quite some time, and then it went in gut, heart, mind, everything, and then the final what does it call it? The straw that broke the camel's back, or that final incident on the day that I was driving my daughter to college for her freshman year. Soon after that, I declared Laura Staley single, happy, free. Mm-hmm. And every one of those words meant so much to me, right? And it anchored me in taking all the many thousands of actions that I needed to take going forward to live into that declaration, including what freedom looked like and how it would get expressed, what singlehood looked like and how it would get expressed, and how I would embrace that and step into it, even as I grieved all the loss. Right? Because clearly when you're in those transition moments, there's the woohoo, or at least there was for me, like woohoo.
Yeah, there's definitely the woohoo, and then there's the boohoo, right?
Right. And not to make light of that, because the grieving was intense. Yes. And deep, and in a way, it was kind of like for the whole life that I thought I could have had, would have had, all of that. Those ideas sometimes you have in your mind, and then you're staring right at the reality of what you're actually living, and you just can no longer live that in that reality, in that rupture. Let's put it that way. So yeah, that was the declaration that I made, and I also made one for my son who was struggling a great deal at the time, and that was for his thriving life. It was his name, his first name, and then thriving life, and I kind of held it like whatever that looks like for him. Declarations, I think, are can be really powerful. I know there's a lot of talk about having a word for the year. That's a great idea too, because kind of like you said earlier, one word can mean so much. And I've chosen my word of the year for 2022 to be.
Save it to the end, because I'm going to ask you.
Okay.
I'll ask you. I didn't know. Close this out. Just one more.
Do a word again.
Yeah, I love that. And I feel like this is you were talking about when you were going through that period of these transformational workshops. Intensives really matter. They are so transformative. I mean, I went to an intensive in Bali, and I'm going to have that person on later on in the month. And I've done, other like 6-month intensives. And there is no greater transformation than being in a container that is built for you, right? and you know vibrationally that this, you know, the alignment is there and your transformation is meant to happen in this safe space with, you know, of course, with the leading coach or coaches. And of course, you become so close with those people, you know, the other participants in the container. And so I'm calling mine joy and presence, and it starts in April. So, you know, we are like products of what that looks like. You know, you are just really held and so safe in that. Um, I want to talk about the other thing we were talking about before we came on live, which is I'm reading the book of Being right now, you know, the ultimate coach. And one of the things in there is talking about creating a document or your created life. And like this is something that you did organically after having been in all these transformational intensives, right? So you just the other side of, you know, declaring free, single, happy Laura, right? Then we have this whole document that you wrote out, and what was it about? If you're willing to share. You don't have to tell us anything.
Yeah, no. Oh gosh, yeah. So I knew I wasn't done with love, like intimate love. And I'm so sorry I get to plug in here. I've got it. I've got it right here. Me and technology.
Okay.
December 2015. And I had gotten practiced at so many of these tools, but I knew I really did want to experience before I kicked an intimate love relationship. So I wrote down and I started it. I'm so happy and grateful now that, and then I just poured out from my heart that December everything that I could imagine experiencing in an intimate relationship with a man. And then fast forward, and of course I continued to do so much more work, and I tucked that away, because often they say, yeah, tuck it away. And yet it also felt like, oh my gosh, in Mary Poppins, when the children, the dad, I guess, rips up the letter because they've spoken all the ideas for the nanny that they want to have, right? And he's just all upset. He's like, yeah, we're never having that. And, you know, and he rips it up and it flies up the chimney. Well, there was a part of me, right, that just, wow. So I did tuck it away, and then, you know, continued to engage my deep work, to forgive myself, to love myself. I also journaled 21 days to the love of your life, which I highly recommend that book. It's 36 fabulous questions. I put the timer on. I love to write. And for 21 days, I poured my heart out, cried, you know, the whole thing, and just wrote and wrote and wrote until the timer went off. I chose 45 minutes. Some people choose 15 or 10 or whatever it is. And then and I would start at question number 1. If I had finished all 36, I would just go back to question number 1. And that document I did burn on day 22, because those are the instructions, and they were specific questions, kind of like, you know, what's the background of your love? What's, you know, what does he do for a living, or what is your love? Because it, you know, them, he, she, them, it could include your, you know, your person. And I had a ball with it. Who is your love? If your love were a plant, what would the plant be? If your love was a tree, what do they like on their hot dog? I'm like, okay, I don't even eat hot dogs, you know? And I just, you know,
eat that stuff.
Right, I know. And, you know, and if he does, he gets to be with his dude friends, you know, for a couple days, because, you know, anyway, oh my gosh. But yeah, so I did that, and I tore it up in February of 2017. And then I paid my $20 and joined single mingles, and went to an event. I had a woman friend say, oh gosh, it's all going to be women. I said, that's okay. I've been business networking. It'll be great to make some new friends. And if it's all women, fantastic. I'll make new friends. and knowing that this was social and not business was just kind of a relief, honestly.
Yeah.
But I go, and there were 4 women and 8 men.
Wow, that's surprising.
Oh my gosh. And the group over at this end of the table that I went and joined, they were talking about all the things that I love. And the man who is now in my life, just, he smiled. When he smiled, I swore he twinkled at me. And it was funny because I put a couple sentences on the profile when I joined a singles mingle. And I said something about, well, I'm a Feng Shui person, and I'll know when I see him because he'll probably sparkle. And I thought,
Aww.
okay, twinkle, sparkle, and I was like, well, there it is. and he reached out that evening. I only had 45 minutes because I had another commitment, and it was so funny because I was just like so myself, listening, interacting, just being me, and full of joy. And I just remember leaving going, okay, I just left them a Laura appetizer.
They don't even know me yet, but you know what?
Just
that's
like
all you need.
Something.
Yeah.
But he reached out, and soon after that, we met, and neither of us really drink coffee. Occasionally I'll have a decaf, but like Cordelia, can you imagine me on caffeine? I'm like, no. Right. It would be like peel her off the ceiling. But at any rate, I discovered that he loves the poetry of Mary Oliver, and there's a whole deeper story besides that. And that one's actually in the book. That essay and full story, which is so hilarious and fabulous, is in the book Crappy to Happy, where I have that essay included in the whole book that was published with Sacred Stories Publishing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So wow, and now I'm living the experience of coming home to an intimate love relationship that continues to, the 2 things that I'll say about that, and there's so much more, but I stopped deflecting love in all of its expressions. So when he began saying, "You are so beautiful," and he meant it, he means it even to this day from his heart, I'm able to receive.
Wow.
And let it into my heart. And of course, I had been affirming, in the mirror, sort of like, yeah, okay, that I was beautiful. But to hear it from another human being, from their heart, oh, it's just, there's a majesty to that. And then, so not deflecting and not having my love deflected, because it's amazing how much we can barrier our hearts. Yeah. Right? We can say thank you and occur very courteous when incoming kindness happens. And yet actually receiving it in the heart does not give you a big head. So I learned that one. Yeah. So no longer deflecting, right? And so when I pay him a compliment, so for instance, he's not used to hearing that he's handsome. I personally think he's sexy and handsome, and I don't care what anyone else thinks, right? Because in my eyes, he's handsome and he's sexy. And so he's learning to receive that in his heart, because I realized that this whole love thing and self-love, it's about not having your love expressions deflected, because it's kind of like giving someone a gift and having them go, and you're like, oh.
When you receive, it's a gift for the other person.
Yeah, where you thought about it and you really paid attention to what you thought they wanted, and I don't even mean necessarily a tangible physical object, but it could be a genuine, heartfelt compliment, like the one you paid to me, or like you offered earlier, that just I got tears in my eyes, and I was like, oh, okay, breathe. Breathe in. It's okay.
You have to remind yourself, you were like,
Right.
I received that in my heart, you know?
Right. Well, and I know you, Cordelia, have so many, all the languages of love, right? And then some, right? And I do too. And to have those received by another human being and not deflected, and have them not, whether it's, touch or quality time, or words of genuine heartfelt appreciation, for another person to receive that. Oh, it's sublime. It's just sublime. And I'm in that experience. And it just bonus round. All I can say is I'm in a bonus round, and I told him, because he's like, I'm a little bit older than you. Well, maybe I'm a lot of bit older than you. Are you sure? And I said, it's the Maya Angelou quote, how someone makes you feel, right? And I said, if it's 5 weeks, 5 months, 5 years, or a lifetime, I'm all in. I'm all in for this journey. And when we continue to learn and grow. I mean, we recently had a bit of a rupture, and I think it was pandemic informed. And I learned that I have 3 containers. I must have alone, uninterrupted time for myself. I must have intimate, together time with him. And I must fill the 3rd bucket, which is what we're doing through technology right now, Cordelia. And it is essential for my mental and emotional health to have all 3 of those. I call them my buckets. And in a way, that's me making sure that I'm loving myself in all those different in those different ways. So contact with people who mean the world to me, and the people that I'm getting to know. So
Yeah.
was a lot.
I love that. I was sharing Gabby is a new friend of mine also, through the book club. I'm going to call it the book club. And she was saying, I'll just show it again. She said, hi, Cordelia and Laura. I am most grateful to being present here and now with both of you. Thank you so much for your loving blessings. Now loving you. So, and that's what it feels like when you fill up your buckets, right? And that's another part of coming home to self-love, knowing that you have buckets, what they are, and that you're making sure that they're either leveling off or overflowing. So, yeah.
100%. And not everybody has those. I mean, it's like for each person. So for instance, my sweet love, Paul, he has different, I would describe it as he has different buckets. His need for social interaction is not he's much more introverted. He's thrilled to, spend time alone, forwarding his own business. He enjoys people's company very, very much, but it's not a bucket. I don't think he would describe it as a bucket that needs to be filled for him to feel whole and inspired to live each day. So yeah. So for each of us, it's like learning what those are. That's a really good point, Cordelia.
Yeah. And it's so important. I'm glad that you brought it up too, because it's really important that we are aware that our depth, we are aware of our own depth. And that's something that can happen inside of a relationship. And it also has to happen always on your own, because the first loving relationship, the first intimate relationship is with yourself. And when you come home to what that is in your heart, then you're whole, right? You're like you're a full soul, and you can really radiate and emanate who gets to be in your presence.
Yeah.
And that goes for your your friends, the people you do business with, and all sorts of people, not just intimate relationships. So I really appreciate, like, oh man, this conversation was like so much fuller and deeper than, actually, not that I had any expectations. I just knew it was going to be amazing and loving. So I really appreciate you, Laura, for sharing so much of yourself, so much of your heart. And now we get to find out, what is your one word?
Oh, okay. Openness. I just love that word. And kind of after a lifetime of living kind of protected and maybe hidden and maybe even at times invisible on purpose.
Yeah.
Openness is like, wow. Yeah. Yeah. So that's my word for 2022.
Mhm. I love it. Mine is free.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I feel that over here.
Well, we're gonna start dancing in a minute.
I know.
I wanna thank everyone who was here with us live: Tony, Wilson, Gabby, Portia, Epec, and for those of you who really benefited, even if you listened for a few minutes, go back and listen to the beginning and share. Sharing is loving. Share with another heart. And but most importantly, take note of your own heart and come home to loving you with self-love. Thank you, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you, Cordelia.
Thank you for joining the conversation. Now, take the time to reflect, introspect, and implement at least one action. Be in your body, be in your soul, be in your spirit. Be free. Until next week.